Hey guys, we're going live a little early. I know I said 5 o'clock, but we got done. Oh my gosh, my hair's getting long. I used to have my hair down to here, and now with the bald cap and everything, it's we had to keep it short. So I got to get it cut again. So I'm just going to wait for the audience to build, and then we'll do our Facebook Live for Thrive Thursday, and have a good time. 2-show day, cool. Holidays coming up. Christmas, my favorite time of year. Why is Christmas my favorite time of year? It doesn't matter what religion you are, or if you're agnostic or atheist, it doesn't really matter, because to me, it's about giving, it's about help. In fact, one of the first modules in the academy that we're rolling out, the Star Power Academy, is probably what you might not think it is. It's what can you do to help? If you want to have success, think about helping others. That's the first thing. So, I was talking to my eldest daughter the other day, and we were talking about Christmas, and she said, "You know what it is?" She's 8. She said, "You know what, Dad? All that matters is that we're good to each other, and that, we can help other people, and that's what Christmas should be about. It doesn't matter." And I was like, "That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome outlook." I wanted to talk to you guys about time. I start getting more esoteric and I start getting more metaphysical. The thing for time, people say, "I don't have enough time. I don't have, there's not enough hours in the day," all of these sort of things. Well, guess what? Time is a man-made concept. And you might have thought about that. If you haven't, think about it. The only reason we see time, we've labeled it that. We've defined it. Man has defined it as such. If we didn't exist and the animals existed, there would be no definition for time. We see it because things grow and decay. And so we have to label it as time. But if you really think about it, time as we know it, as we define it, does not exist. It only exists as we define it such. So in a linear fashion, day after day after day, and minute after minute after minute, we click. We watch the clock clicking away, tick tock, tick tock, tick, right? So if we don't have that concept, or we look at it, I shouldn't say we don't have that concept, because we on this planet have to live with that concept. We're living within, we're living within parameters that we've created. But try to think outside that box. Try to think about creating your own time. We create the concept of it, so why can't you create your own time? Well, how do you do that? Well, if you think about it, what do you do that takes up time that you don't need to do? Or how can you condense time? Talk about when we have deadlines in the film industry, or the theater industry, or any business. You have a deadline. You've got to have this project done by this date. And, you have all this stuff going on, and you find, oh my gosh, we're late, we're never going to make it. And boom, you bring it in on time. Well, what happens when you start to bring it in on time? You start to condense time, right? You start to fill or take away those air spaces and fill them with other things. Well, what are things that take up time? Unnecessary thoughts, things that distract us, things that make us go, we're going along great, and we think it's something that brings us down. People that may divert us. Having somebody, we talked about this earlier too, in an way early Facebook Live, the idea of good control, bad control. The idea of you're driving down the street. Well, what happens if you take your hands off the wheel? Well, chances are it's not going to end up very well, right? That's bad control. So you want to be in control in a good way, so that you're keeping focused on whatever project, whatever thing that you have in your head, or as laid out in front of you. And that, by cutting those things out, you will actually create time, because you'll find that the things that are distracting you, the things that are making you take a left turn when you should be going straight, take time. Arguing, fighting, takes time. It's worthless. I was walking down the street the other day, and this horrible thing that happened in Berlin. And here in New York, there are a couple of bazaars, there are fairs, and there are guys heavily armed standing around these public bazaars. They're law enforcement. And I was like, why are they here? And I realized that, well, you know, that happened over there. So they think, okay, it's going to happen over here, or it may happen over here. So it's a deterrent. And, you know, these guys literally put their lives on the line, they're pretty amazing. But that's not even the reason I'm bringing this up. I was walking down the street, and there was these people that were, they were saying something offhanded to one of the armed guys, and I didn't hear what it was. And they were like taking up the street, right? They were in the middle of the sidewalk, which happens in New York. You know, you have a whole bunch of people, and you know, for those of you guys who are visiting New York, never walk four abreast down a street in New York, because there are people behind you, and you should, you know, make way, because there are people that want to go fast. Anyway, so I'm behind these guys, right? This one guy in particular is my height, and he stops in front of me. And so I stopped, because I almost walked up into him. He just stopped. And then I went to move to the side, and he moved to the side. And I looked at him, and I was just going to get a tea. And so I waited, and then he stepped aside. And then as I was going around, he spun, didn't see me, and almost ran into me. And so I backed up, and you know what he did? He took his hand and he shoved me. Now, this is a guy, grown man, adult, and he's with 2 or 3 other people, grown people, dressed nicely. And I was like, what was that about? You know? And so I read something a buddy of mine wrote. And he said someone was ripping him apart for something that he said. And he said, you know, I allow you to have your anger and hold your anger. We talked about this before, right? The idea that the Buddha said, somebody came to him and he said, what if you give a gift and that person doesn't want to accept it? Who does that gift belong to? And that person said, it's me. And he goes, well, so with your anger, as I do not accept your anger, it will belong to you. So, you know, I just looked back and I was like, well, okay, happy holidays, right? And so when I think about that man, whatever's going on in that man's head, he wasted time. He wasted time in his life with something negative, right? I literally just was like, whoa, okay, cool, whatever, dude, you know, and kept walking. And so when I think about that, and you think about those things that happen in your life, and they do, I mean, that was a microcosm, you know, I have no idea what was going on in his day, and that's the other thing to be aware of. Something horrible could have happened to him. You know, he could have had an argument, which happens. You know, you never know what mindset other people are in, right? So when you approach somebody or when you're talking to somebody, for me, it's, well, find out where they are. You know, you never know what kind of day they're having. So if we can look at time, and we look at time as nonlinear, and look at it as something that we define and something that we can create. I mean, what was here before there was nothing? What was before that? What was before that? What was there before time? Right? If we look at it as something that is nonlinear, that's something you can create by removing the things that you don't need in your life, and looking at it in a new, fresh perspective. Literally go out. If you're having a bad day, stop what you're doing. Go out and take a walk. Look around. Extrovert yourself, and come back and create the time that you want to create. This is a great time to do it. It's the holidays, you know. Hanukkah starts, I think, the first day of Christmas. Isn't that what I heard? Can't remember. But this is a time for giving and love. And I think we need to keep that. It's why I love Christmas. We need to keep that feeling all the time. So anyway, I'm just saying that, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful holiday. I don't know if I'm going to do another live before Christmas. I may. But if I don't, have a great holiday for everyone, no matter what you celebrate. Even if you don't celebrate, just go out and treat yourself well. All right, have a great one, guys. Talk to you soon.